Welcome to Something Like Therapy. For today's episode, we will be covering two separate topics. We will be discussing victim mentality and unforgiveness. We'll be sharing some signs and symptoms that you might be experiencing if you are struggling with either one of those. Our hope is that as we share our story, it can help you on your healing journey. Hope you enjoy. Guys, welcome back.
What's going on?
Woo, it's been a long break.
I feel like it's been 17 months since we've sat down to record something.
Life has been pretty crazy, I will say. There's some things we're not at liberty to share yet, but we're pretty excited to share some exciting news with you guys and a lot of things that have been going on that kind of kept us away from here, but it's been a good little break, I would say.
Yeah, definitely a mixture of some, like Jess said, excitement, but then also some low stuff. So we've literally gone through the ringer of emotions over these last maybe 1-2 weeks. So
yeah, for sure. Just want to apologize if you guys hear our dog. I swear there was like a million things going against us right now starting this episode, and I'm like, I don't know, what's the universe trying to tell us? But
sometimes
we're just gonna fight through all the obstacles and we're gonna do it.
Exactly, you just gotta push through, because I was, we were saying it feels like it's been a while to us. It's been a while since we recorded, and then we're sitting down to finally do another episode, and then like Jess said, just one thing after another comes up, and it's like, oh my god. But yeah. Everything can wait.
So we don't have a would you rather question because we didn't post one, but we will be doing one today, right?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So look out for that. So you want to get started?
Yeah, for sure. What do we got?
All right. So today we're going to do things a little different. Instead of going through every single point one by one, we're kind of going to list it because we want to take what would be a 2 episode. We want to put it into one. So 2-part, 1 episode. So it's going to be a little different, but I'm excited. I really enjoy talking about, topics like the one we're going to discuss today. So yeah.
Yeah. And they go together for sure. I think we thought about it doing them separate, but then it's just well, not that you can't have one without the other, but they kind of just coincide with each other. So
for sure.
We definitely wanted to combine them up.
All right. So we're going to be talking about victim mentality. And the second part's going to be about forgiveness.
Yes.
So number 1, should we just get started now with listing? All right. So we're going to list 11 signs that you might be struggling with victim mentality. Now, I want to say this. We're not talking about victims of abuse, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, none of those victims. That's not what we're talking about. If you do find yourself struggling in areas like this, and you're having a hard time getting past it, we do ask that you guys seek some professional help. But I just wanted to make that clear. That's not the type of victims we're talking about today, okay?
Yeah, not actual victims. Those are unfortunate people that are victims of some sort of abuse. This is more, and I kind of feel like you guys know where we go or what the term, victim mentality is. It's those that kind of just like to play that role. And for different reasons, one or another or whatever, but those are the ones that we're going to be discussing today.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. So 11 signs of the victim mentality. Number 1, they're constantly blaming other people or situations for feeling miserable. Number 2, they possess a life is against me philosophy. Number 3, they think others are purposely trying to hurt them. Number 4, they're they're cynical or pessimistic. Number 5, they feel powerless to change their circumstances. Number 6, they enjoy sharing their tragic stories with other people. Number 7, they have a habit of blaming, attacking, and accusing those they love for how they feel. Number 8, they're constantly putting themselves down. Number 9, they believe they're the only one being targeted for mistreatment. Number 10, they refuse to analyze their beliefs or improve their life. And number 11, even when things go right, they find something to complain about.
When Jess kind of read me those earlier, I think the first thing I said was, it is something, I'm glad we're doing this topic, because I feel like many of you out there, I don't know, maybe right off the, number 1, or maybe a few of them into that list, you begin to either two things. Notice that maybe some of those things are hitting home and you're like, oh my gosh. Or you begin to picture faces of people you may know, family, friends, coworkers, where you're just like, oh my gosh, that describes them like to a T. Either way, one or the other, it's a topic to discuss, because a lot of people, I feel, walk around and maybe they're just, not even in denial, but just oblivious to the fact, like, this is how people view you. This is how you kind of are. Maybe you don't think you're coming off like that, but unfortunately you are. And, hopefully this will kind of spark something to maybe do your own research and look into it and just kind of step back and analyze, your life, or analyze your behavior. And, for those that maybe, like I said, picked, faces popped up to people, maybe this will help you to kind of address it with that person, or to help them, or, just better explain how that person is so that you can, deal with them. But it definitely, it does one or the other for most people.
Yeah, for sure. Not gonna lie, I saw a couple of faces as I was reading the list, but I saw my face the most. Mm-hmm. I know that, going through my journey of healing and deconstruction and deconversion, I know that I fell under this victim mentality more than once. And I remember, thinking, man, like, I'm kind of comfortable in this victim, mentality place. Like, it felt comforting. It felt good to kind of sit back in the driver's seat of victimhood and just drive around and just point at people and like, hey, well, yeah, they did this and they did that. And, I remember even like wanting people to tag along that ride with me too. Luckily a lot of people were like, no, thank you. I will not take that ride. So, yeah. But I know that even now, as we're going through this journey and as we're going through with this podcast, and sharing more, I have to be very careful. And to be completely transparent with you guys, we had already done this episode a few weeks back and we just completely scratched it because I was like, no, we literally sound like freaking victims. Like, I literally was just naming people that had, offended me or hurt me and try to justify it by using that as an example. But I was very much, playing the victim. So yeah. Yeah, and I had to be honest with myself and say like, no, that's not what we're trying to do here. We want to share with you guys from our point of view, because truth is that, a lot of people that have a victim mentality, or just if you're alive in general, it's in our nature to only see things from our point of view. Mm-hmm. And because there's no other way to really see it unless you're willing to go into somebody else's space and perspective and hear them out. So, and
I think a lot of people just really again, either knowingly or unknowingly have this mentality or fall into it because it is a place of comfort. Because if you are always blaming either other people or circumstances or other things for how your life is, there may be circumstances that really you got dealt a shitty hand, and that I completely understand that, and it may be an uphill battle, but like, you still fight that uphill battle. Even if you move an inch every day, you're fighting upward. A lot of the times we just kind of want to like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna be here and I'm just gonna blame it on this stuff and not really strive for better, not really strive for growth in my life. And it's a place of comfort for a lot of people. But I think, just like Jess said, how we started recording this episode a couple weeks back or whatever, we kind of had to do what we hope bringing this up in our podcast or whatever, what it does for people, where it's just like, you have to take a step. You have to say, hold on, stop. Mm-hmm. Wow, this is what I'm doing. Don't do this. Like, let me start over. Let me change course here. And we kind of hope that that's what it does with all of these episodes that we bring up with different, things that people go through or behaviors and whatnot, that it really just kind of, again, sparks something in people's heads where it's like, hold on, maybe, am I being like this? Is this really affecting me? Like, do I suffer from, these sort of things or these, traits or whatever? But, I think that's why so many people can relate to this kind of topic. It's just because, again, it's a comfort zone for a lot.
Yeah. Offense can become like a really warm blanket without you even knowing, like you can just walk around, just constantly be offended. And I had an amazing meeting with my mentor yesterday and, a couple of other girls that are also mentoring for tarot. And we talked about that, just being willing to hear other people, to listen to other people, and to offer that space, because we can become so isolated. What we think are boundaries become walls, right? Because, I know now, like, this whole thing of, like, boundaries are such a big thing, which they are. Mm-hmm. They're very important. But you have to remember, is it a boundary or is it a wall?
It's a very fine line. People can, think that, like I said, they're setting up healthy boundaries in their life. And it's like, no, you've literally set up a wall to isolate yourself from your own emotions, from holding yourself accountable, and just people in general.
Yeah, and you're more likely to build up walls when you have a victim mentality. Than a healthy boundary when you really are trying to create some healthy space between you and, whatever toxic people that you don't like, whatever your reason is for setting a boundary. But if you don't have that self-awareness, we could have simply sent out that last episode we recorded, and, for us, it would have been a learning experience either way. Yeah. Because I know that I probably would have gone back to listen to it, and I would have been so fucking cringy. Like, oh shit, why did we say that? But it's already out there, whatever. But it would have still been a learning experience. But I'm glad that we kind of stopped and just reflected on what we were saying. And that's not what we want our podcast to be about, I mean, yes, it is a place where we share, but it's not, it was more of a vent session.
Yeah, we want to have times like that, and trust me, if you want to believe us or not, we didn't plan it to that, like, okay, well, let's say we did one, and then we realized it, and it's like, oh, that's why our podcast is so necessary. No, but we realized, like, cool, our podcast did make us realize, like, oh, shoot, like, we're literally being what we're, the topic we're discussing, to kind of bring it to light to people of how to work on it, or how to identify it and then work on it. But yeah, it's just, the thing is that, I really feel like with it, again, going back to like how it's a comfort zone for a lot, is it's like anything, like growth or improvement or, just getting better. It's hard. And that's the whole thing with, like, one of the big things about, fighting against having a victim mentality is holding yourself accountable. You have to be accountable for some of the things that are in your life as to maybe not being where you want to be in life. But that's hard. It's easier to, like, just kind of shift the blame to someone else, as opposed to, like, sitting, reflecting with it and saying, oh shit, this is on me. I did this, or I didn't do this, or I think like this. And it's a hard task. It's sort of like, everyone wants to have a friggin' beach body, but it's like, it's hard to go to the gym. It's hard to diet. Like, I'd rather just not do that. So yeah, like, it totally just made us realize when we were recording that last episode, like, it was literally, it happened so quick. We just banged it out fast because it was just like, someone pulled our string of, like, blah 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 blah, let me just talk shit about these people, and everyone's like this, and it's like, no, like, you're over here being the victim. You're over here saying it's everyone else around you, but you're not really looking inward. So glad we're really redoing this.
Yeah, and it's such a perfect like example of how we were so caught up in it. Like, before we knew it, what was like an hour and a half? It was one of our longest episodes.
Yeah, we just vomited all this stuff out of
but it's a perfect example of being so caught up in your own shit that you don't even realize what you're saying. You don't even realize, what it is that with your words, not just hurting not just re-wounding yourself, I'm sorry. But also, like, you're hurting other people with words, because who's to know that some of these people could hear this episode and it's something that we should have directly expressed to them instead of, vomiting on here about them. So
and
it was a perfect example of that.
And the example for that one, because you made me think about it when you said caught up in your own shit. And I know you're not going to like it because you're like, that's gross. But I'm going to say, like, when you're in a restroom and you pooped, and you're there so long, you don't really realize it smells. And then when someone comes in, they're like, oh my God, what the hell died in here?
No. You don't realize it smells, okay?
That's what I'm saying. You don't realize.
Some people have the decency. No, I'm saying you, directly you. I'm pointing at you.
No, what? Me? Who? Me? No. I'm saying it's that, like, when you're in there, like, when you're around poop. Okay, let's not you
Can
pooping.
We change that?
How about, like, if you stepped in poop, dog poop.
Okay.
And, like, okay, you've been smelling it so long that you forget that the smell's there and you just go along with it. You don't think it smells anymore. But then someone comes along and it's like, dude, it smells like dog shit. It's like, oh, that's me. Yes. So, yeah.
The fact that we had to go with that. Oh, man. Okay, look.
Solid 3 minutes of poop time.
All right. So I just want to pick one of the points here that I can relate to, that I can resonate with. All right. And that is the number 10. They refuse to analyze their beliefs or improve their life. So I heard something the other day that was, like, really cool. And I was like, man, that's so true. We need to really ask ourselves if our beliefs serve us, because this particular person shared how she used to, always tell herself in the morning, if I don't have a cup of coffee, like, I'm pretty much just crap for the rest of the day, and so she would always have a cup or two of coffee because she believed that that's what made her wake up. That's what kept her going throughout the day. But what she wasn't understanding is that was actually causing her to crash in the middle of the day. So it was only leading her to now having more caffeine, right? So I thought about that and I was like, that's so true. And we talked about this, with just our beliefs. Like, the things that we find that are truth and ultimate truth, do we ever ask ourselves, like, is that really serving you? Is that helping you? Is that helping you grow? Is that, helping your relationships grow? Like, we can make anything that we want our truth, because we hear that so much now, right? Like, this is my truth. So when it comes to, like, offense and victim mentality, we can make anything true, and I think about the picture of, like, the 9 and the 6, or, it's a number 9 or a number 6, but no matter, like, depending on where you stand, that's what you see.
One's upside down or something.
Yeah. So I think about that and it's like, neither of those people are wrong. It's just their perspective where they're standing, right?
Or those paintings that, like, if you look at it one way, it's one thing, and then you can also see, it's like, which one do you see in this? Like,
exactly. Yeah. So we really do have to ask ourselves. So if you're in a situation, for example, for me, with the whole church hurt, I know how I felt, but did I ever ask some of the pastors? Or, for the most part we did. For the most part we asked people, hey, this is how we're feeling, or we communicated it to them, and then they came at us with, like, well, that's just part of the church, that's the system, whatever. But was there some people that I probably could have communicated clearly or directly to clear some of the misunderstandings or ways that I felt? Probably, but I never gave them a chance to share their truth. So that's something that I really had to work, and I still continue to work within myself, where I need to not take what it is that I believe so so seriously, I guess you can say, like, because there is other people with completely different beliefs or completely different values, and yes, mine are important to me, but it doesn't mean that other people's beliefs and values aren't also important, to them. So I hope that made sense, because, again, like I said, it's sometimes we hang on to something, so strongly, but there's actually a little bit of, like, a twist in the truth there. Yeah. Because we want it to fit our story. We want it to fit our story of victimhood.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And like the first time you told me that story about the lady, the girl with the coffee, I'm same thing. I told you I just don't accept it because that is a truth. Coffee is amazing and it helps everyone and there's no downside to it. But what I do want to say, kind of in regards to what you mentioned, is that is a fact that a lot of things that we go through and deal with and see and come across in life, everything's on perspective because, or almost everything is because I don't see the world how you see the world. We could literally be staring at the same thing and you look at it one way and you have thoughts in your head based on who you are, your past, your other experiences, and I have mine. So we look at it in a different way. That's not wrong. However, if you're someone, you have to, if you can accept that as true, you have to be someone that also accepts the fact that that is true and that is a thing, that it can be different. That you can't just say like, well, this is how I look at it and I know my truth and that's what it is. You can't look at it a different way. That's being closed-minded, and closed-mindedness is the death to everything, because when you're closed-minded, you think you're right and everyone else is wrong. And that's why there's so many issues. That's why, I mean, just like one of the main big things we talk about, like religion, you have to accept that there's different religions. It can't be just one, and there's many religions, there are many fanatics, are just like, no, that is true. Like you're right or I'm right and you're wrong. So you have to believe, or you have to understand and believe both, that two people look at things differently. However, they have the right to look at it differently and you have the right to look at it differently. And it's sometimes you guys are not going to see eye to eye on it. So.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah. And I think you just said it, like they have the right to think how they want to think and we have the right to think however we want to think. But one of the things that I feel like sometimes people don't understand or aren't prepared for is the type of isolation you create when you are so close-minded to other people's, beliefs or truths, and you have to be ready for that.
Yeah.
If you're really going to hang on to this as the ultimate truth, then be ready to not have people around. Like, people are not going to tolerate that, and they have every right to not tolerate it, so.
And it's every situation you go through, if it involves other people, there's never going to be one truth to that, what happened. Like someone says, well, what happened at the party that night, or what happened, during that time. If you talk to different people, that's 5 different people, that's 5 different perspectives, 5 different, like what I was saying, people who look at something and because of their own experiences and who they are, see it differently. And I always think of the couples retreat with Vince Vaughn. I know my truth. I know my truth. And the therapist is like, did you say you know your truth? Like, because it is a funny thing to say, because like, yes, you know your truth, but you have to understand that isn't the truth, right? That isn't like exactly, but people don't see it that way. They're just like, there could be like, okay, this is what happened, and you have your story of like how you felt. And someone else can have the other one. It's like the Ricky Gervais things we discussed or talked about the other day, where he was talking about people that like tell him like that joke's offensive, and he was like, no, the joke is just the joke. If you found it offensive, it's because you were offended. Was he offended? No, because he has a different way of thinking. So the joke itself isn't offensive. You find it offensive, and so many people. This again. You look at all of Twitter and social media where they just want to like comment. I want my voice to be heard, but it's like, okay, allow your voice to be heard, but you can't say this is concrete truth because I'm saying it and I believe it. It's like, no, it's different.
Yeah, I think that's why we see so much entitlement and, just around social media now and just in the freaking world in general, especially like Western culture, like so much entitlement because, like we have so many platforms to speak our truth. And if anybody comes in and gives a completely different opinion on it, oh God, like you are whatever it is they feel like you are that day. Like so many people are called sexist, racist, homophobic, like all because they just don't agree with your lifestyle. I mean, they have every right to, and that's something that I remember when I first, and I'm still getting messages, and I'm still, I still have to work through this, but when I first started doing readings on social media, I was getting hit up a lot, and I was getting really mad, and I was like, why are these people freaking like harassing me? But what I had to come to like terms with was that you're in a freaking public platform. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm putting myself out there to, I'm exposing myself for people to speak their opinion. It's either I suck it up and just hear it out, or I stop doing it, So I had to kind of be real with myself and not develop this as like entitled, personality of just like, you don't have a right to tell me. You know what? They can tell you whatever they want, you know? And I have the right to either respond or not respond, or delete, block, whatever it is.
And I feel like we're going, kind of on and on about like this whole acceptance of others' beliefs and just understanding that there's different ways of viewing, things in life. And it's like, I feel like we're going on and on about it because it really relates to like a victim mentality, because usually people that suffer from that, they don't see it like that. It's just their way of thinking. It's my way or nothing at all. And like on one of the things you listed, it's like everything they want to blame, everything and anyone. I think the one where it said about like blaming, accusing or attacking like loved ones, family and friends like around them for how they feel. And it goes back again to like what I said, when someone's offended by a joke, I feel offended, I feel hurt, I feel singled out, therefore it's offensive, what you said. Like, no, the thing is that, okay, maybe whatever was said was bad and vulgar or whatever, but understand, like, your feeling, your emotion is no one else's. You are the only one responsible for that. And everyone wants to like, oh, you hurt my feelings. Your feelings weren't involved in my thinking of what I'm going to say and then saying it. So you can't just always blame and accuse everyone around you for how shitty or maybe even how happy or whatever, however you feel. Your emotions and how you're feeling should be disconnected from those around you to an extent, to a point. And I think, I don't know if we've mentioned, and I know I've talked about it with Jess, how I kind of suffer from that, where I'm really like a sponge to like everyone around me. And this comes to like, if I feel good about myself or I feel happy, is like, are the people around me in a good mood? Then I'm going to be in a good mood. And if someone is around me is like hostile or just upset or whatever, I like, put it to me or whatever. So we all suffer from it. And it's just a matter of really looking at it. Like you can't, at least in my head, one of the big things about victim mentality people is exactly that. They want to like, oh, well, they don't call me enough, or they don't do this, or they don't, blah, blah, blah. Like they don't. It's like, what are you doing to change that situation?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it comes down to emotional maturity, just having enough maturity, really, of just expressing your needs to the right people.
And in the right way.
Because one of the other things I wanted to say also was that people wear their whatever offenses, wounds, whatever, or their experiences as like a badge of honor. Like, oh yeah, I left this relationship, or I cut off this friendship, like they just want to wear it as if it's like, I don't know, a badge of honor. Yeah. The way they put it, and,
okay, like to say like, I endured that, or I went through this, and again, and I think we mentioned it before, maybe, I don't know, one of the episodes. All of our conversations get mixed up in my head, where it's like, again, just holding accountability in like whatever the relationship that ended or whatever the situation, like you had a part in it. You did something. Like I think we did mention it, where it was like, they treated me like this and this and this for years, and it's like, yeah, that was fucked up. They shouldn't have done that for years. You shouldn't have accepted it for years. Like you didn't have to stay there doing that for years. But they want to just like, well, yeah, it's not my fault. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about how shitty they were to me. Like that's what victims want to do, and they want to tell you that every fucking time they see you. Like, remember that? Yeah, you've told me 8 times. Every time I've seen you, you tell me about this, and this is why. Blah blah blah. And it's like, and from personal experience, being around people that want to talk about the same thing over and over, but also just want to explain as to why their life is so shitty and what they've had to go through, and the sun never comes up on me and it never shines on me. It's annoying is the only word that comes to my head, but it's something that's where you realize, like, my gosh, like, it becomes a toxic thing where it's like their talk and their way of thinking begins to just soak into you and bring you down. So
yeah, it's almost impossible to not be affected by it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was said in the beginning. I wanted people to go on that ride with me. I wanted people to carry my offense.
Yeah.
I wanted people to
sympathize with you,
to feel what I was feeling. And one of the things, like, and this will be the last thing we touch on this because I really want to jump on to the next part, but one of the things that I finally come to realize was that I was looking for other people to make right what other people had done wrong to me. And I had to come to a place of peace within myself where maybe I'm never going to get an apology. Maybe I'm never going to get a why or an explanation of why certain things were done. I had to come to peace with that. And I had to make peace within myself and even forgive myself in certain parts and roles that I played. Because I think about like a movie. There has to be at least two characters, in order for the story to take place and to go about, there has to be at least two characters, not just one, unless a person has fucking multiple personalities, Well,
Castaway, he was by himself.
I mean,
he did have Wilson.
He had Wilson.
I mean, there are other people in the movie too.
But I'm saying, like, there has to be at least two people that are going to play two important parts in it, right? So it can't just be one person. It can't just be one person throughout the whole story. You also took part in this. You have to take responsibility in the role that you played. So that's what I had to do. Yeah. I had to really make peace within myself and say, like, hey, Jess, like, yes, maybe you were hurt and offended, but why did you stick around for so long? Or why did you allow it? Why did you entertain this?
And it kind of segues into what the second part we wanted to go into, where, like you said, it's more a matter of self, like, maybe it's not ever going to be rectified. Maybe it's never going to be set right. Even if you said, like, I'm never going to get that apology. Let's say the person that offended you did come and apologize. Does that apologize make everything better? Does somebody, like, do you get to win? Does, like, like, you won the grand prize, like, you got the apology, you won that battle? No, you still living with it. Like, it still happened, and now it's just a matter of internally, do you move on? Which that leads to internal, like, forgiveness of a person, of a situation, of circumstances, of whatever may have happened. And it's a lot easier said than done, because I think there's not a soul on earth that hasn't had something happen to them where they had to just forgive, because nothing was ever going to come from it. Like, holding the grudge for as long as possible nothing was ever going to come besides more anguish inside of you. Which, like I said, it's a good segue as to what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, so I want to jump into the next part. Forgiveness. Is that shit even real? like forgiveness, does it really exist? The reason I say that is because I feel like forgiveness is gonna come in different ways and in different forms with everyone. I know that coming from a religious background, a Christian background, forgiveness was a big thing and almost used like as a threat. If you don't forgive, God's not going to forgive you. If you don't forgive people's wrongdoings, then like how are you ever going to be able to look at God or like enter the gates of heaven? Like, because forgiveness is it could be such a tool for manipulation. All right.
For sure.
And the more I looked at it as I was going through healing and as I was like kind of, just working through a lot of the crap that I had been taught, I realized that like forgiveness is so overrated. That's not the word. Because it is
used
important.
a lot or thrown around a lot.
It's thrown around a lot. Yes, there you go. It's misused. And also there's a process. There's a process.
Which is different for every single person.
Which is different for every
it's like
single
grieving,
person.
Yes,
it's going to be unique to you, and maybe I don't know what you can forgive quickly might take me weeks, months to forgive, you know, like you not picking up your socks. God, it can take me forever to forgive you.
That's an example, like an overall general example, right? Not personal.
No, babe, of course not. But you know, I'm. It's just it's an example of like how something can be so small but yet so big to somebody else. You know, so when I hear people say like, well, you just need to forgive them, like, you don't understand the extent of the wound that they might have. You know, how deep it goes, how far it goes. People need to walk through their journey. Sometimes you need to go through the victim mentality. Sometimes you need to go through being offended for God knows how long. And eventually get to the point where you get tired of it.
Yeah.
And hit that wall. And then again, like we talked about it in the last part, was the isolation. Because the healing process is very isolating. You become very lonely and you have nothing else left but to look at yourself and ask, what do I need to do? How do I get past this offense? So one more thing I just want to say. And there is times where you might dig and dig and dig and you might not ever feel like you can forgive. You know, someone that has experienced abuse in a relationship in the past, not us, you know, I'm talking about my first marriage. I don't know, we've been divorced for what, like 12 years now? No, longer. I don't know how long we've been married, but we've been divorced for a pretty long time. And I found out just a couple of years ago that I was still going through a lot and I hadn't forgiven him, you know? And can I say that I'm 100% like have forgiven him and everything? Probably not, you know, but I'm also understanding that I need to be patient with myself, you know, because there's still things that I'm working through. So, without trying to sound like a victim, I had to come to peace with certain things and also understand that I'm still working through other things. So maybe I haven't necessarily hit 100% forgiveness in this area, but I'm also having grace within myself to like process what I need to process, feel what I need to feel, be 100% honest with myself. And that's where I think like forgiveness can be used as such a weapon, you know, against people,
like
because
you said, manipulation.
Yeah, manipulation, and it's like forced. So then, you know, because I was talking to a friend yesterday, and we have a lot in common with this particular individual, and she said something like, well, even if I would get an apology, I don't know if I would 100% believe it. I'm like, I am right there with you, girl, like 100%. So again, you know, you have to, forgiveness is more about you than it is about other people, but it's a process and it's lengthy. And it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of patience. And sometimes, I don't know, I've come to terms within myself that I might not ever forgive certain things.
Yeah.
But that's just because I haven't been able to process them yet, you know? So I don't know. That's my personal experience with forgiveness.
Yeah. And then to like, you know, not want to come across as like all knowing or like just so self-righteous about it. You know, like, oh, no one understands, like, you've never heard someone tell you, like, well, forgiveness is more about you and it's to help you. Like, you may have heard all of it. You may have heard everything we've already said about, you know, victim mentality and forgiveness. But like Jess said, like, it's different for everyone. So, like, I really don't want to come across like I'm telling people, well, you need to forgive so that you can feel better and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Because how I really look at it is like, you know, when you have, like, when you're holding a grudge and it's like every day you wake up and you have to like put on this backpack of like a bunch of rocks. You just got to carry that shit all day. So like when you forgive or you just let something go, you wake up and you look at the backpack and you're just like, fuck you, I'm not putting you on and I'm going to continue my day. And yes, I'm sure everyone wants that. But like Jess said, it's on everyone's own time because, you know, and that makes me think of how you said, like, it can be used as a manipulation. Like, we're, again, just from our church background or a Christian background, you know, they always want to, like, you have to forgive. You have to have grace. You have to forgive because if you don't get the ticket to go into heaven. How's God going to forgive you? And it's like, we would hear some people talk about forgiving people for certain things where it was like are you fucking serious?
Right.
Like, you forgave someone for that? I mean, some extreme shit where it's like, yeah, that's like a therapist gold mine, because that's like that's a lifetime of therapy that's going to be needed to get through all that. And you're just kind of expected, like, well, you got to have grace and you just got to forgive. And it's like, okay, one, how do you, like, I don't know if I'm going to need 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, or maybe my whole life, or maybe fucking never, where I will ever let this issue go or forgive this person or whatever. And again, like, I'm not actively promoting to hold grudges, but what I am actively promoting is to take as much time as you need and not feel like you're forced or rushed to have to forgive, but not sitting and dwelling in that stew of, well, they wronged me and this is why, like, again, this is why the victim mentality and the forgiveness episode go together, is like, you have to find that balance. You have to find that in between, to where you're not just forgiving when you're not ready, but then you're also just not sitting in your own shit from what that situation or what that person, did. You kind of have to really just find that balance. But yeah, like, I just think sometimes, we kind of feel forced to, just forgive or to find grace for certain situations, when it's like like I mentioned earlier, it's like grieving, where you have to do it on your own time and in your own way. And you find that, sometimes you thought like you may be over something, and it's really not. It's because you haven't really let it completely go. You haven't really been able to forgive that person or that situation.
Yeah, I think church is really, really good at trying to get you to do like a expedited healing, where it's like, let's get you here, and then let's get you here, and then let's like,
and now you're a perfect person. Here you go. There you go.
And even though they try to say that that's not what they're trying to do, I had seen it done over and over, but I want to say couple of things that you said with the messiness of the healing part, like where you kind of sit in your own junk and your own mess or whatever. I don't want to say that I disagree with you, because it isn't healthy, but I will say that sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes for you to sit in your own mess, and sometimes it takes for other people to smell you and be repulsed by you. Because,
like the pooping situation
we
talked about earlier. Okay.
Sometimes it takes that, because that's the only way that you're going to see that what you're holding on to you is literally poisoning you. It's poisoning you. It's poisoning those around you. And it's the only way sometimes, So, but also another thing, I feel like for me now, more than forgiveness, I like to tell people to just make peace with the situation, Yeah,
because sometimes peace, or the ability to move on in peace, doesn't include forgiveness. Yeah. It's just a matter of like, well, that happened and that's it.
And I mean, because if not, we create this like this facade, or like this whole other like persona that is just so like cool and chill with everyone, and no matter what you do to me, I'm cool, I'm fine with it, but in reality, deep down inside, they're just so angry, and I'm gonna read the list right now, but when we make peace with something, I think you have an understanding, like, yes, this happened to me. Yes, I feel this way. And yes, I'm still very angry, and I am not forgiving this person, but I make peace with the situation, knowing that, one, you can't change it, because that's one of the things I think that causes unforgiveness, is that we keep looking back, and you're just still living in the past, so you're not even like you're not able to be present here and now, because you're just so focused on what happened. Wow. So oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. So just making peace with the situation and being able to be here now, even though you might have some unforgiveness. I think some people won't understand that. They probably like, that doesn't make sense. The way that I see it is that I might have certain unresolved issues or unforgiveness, but I'm very much at peace with where my life is right now. because I know that I can't change it. So I hope that made sense.
Yeah,
because
no, it does.
like I said, maybe some people won't understand that because they can't wrap their head around it because they feel like forgiveness is so necessary to heal.
Yeah. I think it goes like both ways. Like finding that's good. Like make peace with it as opposed to either asking for forgiveness or forgiving someone. And it makes me think of like, I don't know if it's like a movie or maybe it was a sitcom or whatever, but it's like, you know how like the whole 12-step program for alcoholics.
Yeah.
Like one of the steps is going and asking for forgiveness for everyone that you've wronged to. And it's like, I think again, in a movie or whatever, like they're making fun of the fact like what's like, I'm asking you forgiveness. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, well, do you forgive me? Well, I don't know. I know I don't really like. I can't right now. They're like, well, it's a part of my steps. Like you have to forgive me or I can't move on. So you have to make a decision. And I kind of feel it's like that. Like obviously, I would hope that the people doing that don't look at it like that. But it goes both ways. So the person that they're asking, again, it's your decision of if you want to forgive this person. And I think you started it out right. Like, does that shit even really exist? Because when you say like, yeah, I forgive you, it doesn't just magically make it go away.
Right.
Like you'll still always feel it. It happens. You can't, unless you're going to go fucking Jim Carrey, Eternal Sunshine and just like erase this person from my mind. Like, you're going to have memories and thoughts of whatever happened. And then for the person that's asking for the forgiveness, they're just searching for peace by knowing that like, I can't fix what I did. I fucked up royally on you and I'm sorry. I ask that you forgive me. Then that's it. Your peace is now moving forward because you humbled yourself and acknowledged what you did and who you were, and you asked for forgiveness. Them giving it to you is their decision, and it shouldn't really affect you one way or another. Yes, it would be nice if they can like, no, I genuinely forgive you and I hope we can move forward. Yes, then that's a great situation. But you have to also realize more than likely what you did, they're just going to be like, yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking for forgiveness, but you kind of fucking stole my car and like, did this or stole all my money. Like, whatever the case, I don't know if I'll ever forgive you. I don't hate you, but that's the best I can give you. And then both parties have to be accepting to like, okay, that's how it's going to play out. But like you said, it's making peace so that you can move on in life, so that you're not just sitting and dwelling in your old life and on your own shit. You can move forward in some sort of way. So yeah, it's for both ways.
Because I think like someone being forced into forgiveness, it's just so much room for shame. Because once you say I forgive you, then that automatically wipes out. This is the false belief. Okay, once I say I forgive you, that wipes out everything that you've ever done wrong towards me, and also that means that I'm allowing you now back into my life. And and I actually don't feel any way or ill way about it anymore.
Yeah,
like that's the false belief. But in reality is, even though yes, I might say I forgive you, I still, and I think you said that, like I still 100% still feel ugly when I think about that.
Yeah.
And
it's like, how do you not?
And some people get shamed for that. Like for example, if you were ever in a relationship that you were cheated on, and the person that you took back or whatever, or they took you back, whatever the situation is. I've heard this a lot of times where people were like, oh, I don't trust you. Well, you took me back. Like, well, what do you mean I don't trust you? Like, I already told you everything, like I was 100% honest with you. Like, why did you take me back? Like, because, I love you, but it doesn't mean that I forgot what you did, know? And even though, it's not a healthy situation, you probably shouldn't take them back, just saying. But whatever, I know every situation is unique, but just because that person took you back doesn't mean that it does away with all your wrongdoings, We've
kind of talked about like situations like that where, again, that person, take forgiveness out of it. They didn't make peace with that other person or the situation prior to taking that person back. Exactly. And that's where they fucked up, because if you don't, and you're just like, kind of, let's just skip that fact, and then, like try to continue to have a relationship with the person that maybe whatever, like I said, cheated on them, it's going to still be there. And the fucked up part about it, because we've said that before when we talked about those kind of situations where it's like, if you're going to take someone back, then you need to take them back and not make their life a living hell over things.
Yeah.
You're going to still feel it, And you have to figure out a way, again, to make peace so that you can move forward. But you can't keep throwing it in the person's face or making their life shit. And then just like, well, that's because that's what you did to me. Because then what are you? You're a fucking victim mentality. You're saying, like, you did this to me. Therefore, we're going to be miserable. And I'm going to, like, be upset upset at you forever. Because even if you ask for forgiveness, I'm still going to be upset. And it's like, no, you can't live like that.
A victim will use that as an opportunity for that person that, hurt them or offended them or wounded them as an opportunity to make sure they pay for the rest of their life.
Yeah. And you'll have the people that that are genuinely like, and that's very sorry about what they did. And like, they realize like, no, I wasn't a good person and I'm going to try and make this up. But it isn't their responsibility for the rest of their life to try and make it up to that person. Mm-hmm. But it always seems like, just like, we always say, like, a person one way will seek out people, like, I think we were talking about, like, people please, when we did the people pleaser.
Givers
people that,
and takers.
Exactly. The fucking takers will find these givers, and it's sad, but you'll have these people that feel like, for the rest of my life, I owe this to you, or I have to make it up to you, and it's like, no, like you're that's not right. It's not healthy and it's not good. So just get yourself out of that situation.
And that it doesn't have to be this doesn't just apply like towards an intimate relationship. This could be, could be in a workplace, like friendship. It could be anything where people will kind of use that get out of jail free card. Like, you hurt me, you offended me, you did this, in order for them to stay in that mentality, in that role, and really cause this person to feel forever guilty.
And even if it had nothing to do with that person, they may look at it like, oh, this happened to me and this happened to me. And if you say you're my friend, then you have to, like, cater to me because I live such a hard life and because shit always happens to me. You have to be here for me. And it's like, wow, that's when it's really fucked, because that person did nothing at all to you or blah blah blah, but yet they're the ones that are you've been deemed like the make it better person.
Really quick, like, to use this as an example, we're talking about two people that we knew where one of them would communicate how they would feel, and then the other person would just immediately break down crying. And that was like their defense of not taking responsibility or ownership of any part that they had in this relationship, And that's just a perfect example of someone using that victim role of their life has been so hard, or it's just too much for them to handle against someone else that does want to come to a place of healing and a healthier relationship, So it's very unfortunate, and I see that happen a lot, and I would say I've even done that myself, so.
And they disguise it with like, I'm being vulnerable and I'm showing my emotions. Like, it's one thing to show your emotions. It's another thing to use emotion as a manipulation tool. So
Yes. So I know we kind of jumped around with both topics, but I'm just going to list these and then I think we'll kind of close it off. So these are just things that maybe you can identify within yourself to see if you're struggling with a little bit of unforgiveness. And again, the journey of forgiveness is like, it's ongoing, it's like, it's never ending. And it's something that we practice every single day, not just with others, but within ourselves. And it might take us a lifetime,
Well, it's like how we say both, like, mental health and physical health. Like, it isn't like you don't reach this point and like, oh, now I'm forever physically and mentally and emotionally strong and fit and that's it. I just stop now. Like, no, every day you keep going to stay fit and to, like, get better.
I don't know, I thought about the Poltergeist movie, that lady in the end where she was like, this house is clean.
Yeah.
Like,
no. What's her name? Regina doesn't come in and just like, this house is cleansed.
All right, so here we go. Number 1, you're experiencing a burst of anger. God, that was
well, we still have to do our anger episode because I'm just going to be the special guest on that one with my anger.
Right, so okay, sorry.
But yes,
sorry. You're experiencing a burst of anger. You're petty and impulsive. God, if I had like a pen, I'd be checking all these fuckers out. You're desperate to make them understand how you feel. You're compulsive. You're unable to reframe your experiences. You're not taking responsibility for your feelings. You're sick in the head.
It just says you are sick?
It just says that.
You are sick.
Well, like you're sick physically, probably, yeah.
Oh.
So you're sick. You're keeping a list of offenses. You hate yourself. You replay the scene over and over and over. You gossip about them. You're righteous and entitled. You exercise poor judgment. And you refuse to confide in others. I just want to say something about the last part where you refuse to confide in others. It's interesting because sometimes when you're so deep in this like role of unforgiveness and victimhood, you kind of run out of people that want to hear you or listen to you. So you just stop sharing. You stop sharing because people aren't agreeing with you anymore. So unless they can find that one person that's going to just, like the yes people that are just going to be like, oh yeah, I can't believe that happened to you. Unless you find those people, you kind of just keep it to yourself. And that's why I say that sometimes, and I love that this is the last point on here, because I think it's one of the last things you start to experience before your healing process begins, where you are completely isolated with just all your crap, and you have no other choice but to eventually come out of it and seek healing, seek help, and make peace with your situation.
Yeah.
So this article gives a quote by Martin Luther King, and Martin Luther King Jr., and I think it's so beautiful and it's so true. Forgiveness is not an occasional act, is a constant attitude. And it's so true. Like, it's so true. I think that even though I said what I said about forgiveness, like, is it true? Does it even exist? I think that we have to come to a point in our lives where we don't necessarily forgive, but understand that healing. I think of the word forgiveness in a way, the healthy forgiveness, as like surrender, just kind of surrendering to the situation. And again, like surrender could be peace also, just making peace, falling into a place where it's like, these things happen, there's not much I can do about it. And now all I can do is grow from it. And in spite of what happened to me, I'm going to, achieve my goals and my dreams. So I'm not saying, again, because I'm so anti like anyone doing anything, by force. I believe in like an organic process. So whatever it is that you need to do, if you are in a place right now where you are in the funky part of your healing, where you are, the victim, I guess you can say, just know that you're doing the best that you can do right now, and don't feel guilty for what you're doing, but just be open to learning and hearing other people's side also, because I think that's the only way that we're going to be able to make peace with any situation, is just by listening.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that you have to allow these people back into your life. That doesn't mean that you put yourself in a place and in a position where you're going to be constantly, hurt again. But it means that you're just willing to hear out. And if there's anything that needs to be, anything that needs to kind of be cleared up, I think it could help you with your healing process and bring some form of closure.
Yeah.
Not 100% closure maybe, but some form of closure, because I think sometimes that's another thing. People hang on to closure. I just need closure. Like, okay, but what is that really going to do?
Yeah. And like what you said, back to Martin Luther King's statement on it, or his quote, where it's like, it's a, what did you say? It was like a lifetime attitude, right?
Yeah.
And again, I really want to point out, and I'm glad you really said that, the statement of where it's like, it's not forgiveness, it's finding peace.
Mm-hmm.
I really am just always going to look at the word forgiveness as finding peace, because that's ultimately what you're doing. And it sometimes doesn't involve literally forgiving someone, even though it's the term is forgiveness. You don't literally need to forgive someone or like you said, allow them back in your life, or to continue a relationship with them. It's just a matter of, understanding and accepting what happened, and then actively and consciously choosing to move forward. So it's like, whatever. Again, you may always look at that person and there's just no love lost between you. However, you've chosen to just like, you know what? Nothing's going to come from me having this person, being involved with this person, or forgiving them, or whatever, or trying to forget what happened. Nothing is going to come from that until I accept to just move forward and like, okay, this is it. So, and it's kind of dumb. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot into forgiveness. And it's very complex, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot of self-discipline to like have that kind of mentality or that willpower to move forward when something has really hurt you and affected you in life, to try and make peace and grow from it, or to move forward and grow. But yeah, it makes me think that the stupid movie, oh man, with Ryan Reynolds, remember when he's taking care of the dumb girl and her stupid song like forgiveness, it's more than saying sorry. Like, it's such a stupid song and he hates her, but when you think about it, it's like a really good song. Like, it has a lot of meaning because it is just more than saying sorry. It's a lot more than fucking just saying sorry. You have a whole sea and ocean of like things and thoughts and emotions going in your head and your heart when you're looking to make peace about a certain person or situation. So, but yeah.
I think, and this is going to sound a little contradicting, but I think the most important forgiveness or forgiving role, no, that's not it. The one person that's the most important that you need to forgive is really yourself. Like,
no, that's a whole other episode, dude.
That is one person that I really do feel like I need to tell you that you need to forgive, and it's a must in your life, is yourself.
Yeah. I think a lot of us suffer from. I think that was one of the things I thought I saw it on one of the lists, like where they always talk down to themselves.
Yeah.
That I think it was about victim mentality, where she would raise my hand really high, like. I do it all the time. Like, Jess always reminds me, like, even if I think I've done it so much in my life that where, like, the thing that she does bring up, I'll be like, oh my God, like, calm down. I got mad at myself because I missed the turn. Like, yeah, but you don't, why? Like, you missed a turn. You just make a U-turn and go back. Like, it's fine. But, like, to me, it's so normal to be like, God damn it, Derick. Like, oh my God, I knew it was coming up. Why didn't I turn? Like, I can't, and I literally feel my freaking blood boiling, and it's like, why are you talking like, again, we need to do that anger episode, okay? But that's all I'm saying. But yeah, like, talking down to yourself is a really big thing. It could be for something so little, like, oh, you forgot to do this, or whatever, you made a mistake, to something really big, like, yeah, you really should have done that, but you can't just dwell on it and just like, just really talk down to yourself. So I know that's a big part of it, or that was one on that list. So
yeah, maybe that will be the next one that we do. But yeah, just work on forgiving yourself. And honestly, one thing that I realized is that when I did finally come to peace and forgiveness in with certain things that I did in my life, it kind of became a little easier to give grace to others, because then I realized, like, they're just like me. They're just human. They make mistakes. I mean, there is different severities of mistakes, but I either way, it just helped me through my healing process, with other people. So
for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we are gonna go ahead and close out. As always, thank you guys for sticking around and listening to this episode. We really, truly hope, like with every one of our episodes, that you gained at least one thing, or that we introduced one new like idea to you, or like I said, maybe you knew all this crap, but it just kind of reiterates and really makes you kind of like pause, even just for today. Like, hey, what have I done today? Like, how have I been acting lately? And just kind of address it, and again, finding a way to grow from it and to move forward. So. Yeah. But we'll go ahead and, like Jess said, we're gonna have a would you rather question. We'll try to get that today, so people have you guys have a whole week to vote on it. But either way, thank you guys. We hope you have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.